Thank you very much.
Right, welcome. After all these talks about music, let's talk about art. Yes, if you like it. Right, this is me. And as opposed to a lot of people at ADE and a lot of delegates, I don't have a huge history in events or in music, but I actually have a history in art. I graduated art school in 2010, I think it was. Before working at Digital, I worked at several advertising agencies and design agencies, and now I'm the festival director of Digital. For those of you who have absolutely no idea what Digital is, it's an international music festival, and our biggest festival is in Amsterdam. It's during Easter weekend every year, 2 days. We also have events in Santiago, Sao Paulo, Barcelona, Tel Aviv, obviously ADE, Madrid in the end of the year, and next year, for the first year, we're going to India. Basically, our festival concept relies on 4 pillars. Obviously, it's music. We always try to find a balanced lineup between international headliners and local talent. We stimulate innovation and technology. Actually, we were one of the first festivals to completely get rid of tokens, and all payments were electronically. 2 years ago, we introduced an augmented reality app. We got rid of the festival map. So if you would find a toilet or a bar or a certain stage, you had to download an augmented reality app and just wave your phone around, and it would guide you to the right spot. And even if you would point at a stage, you could even see what DJ was playing at that time. Most of the people know that we're very known for our sustainability efforts. Actually, next year in Amsterdam, we're trying to become the first completely circular festival, which means that we basically have a super strict zero waste policy. Everything that comes into the festival has to be reused or recycled. And for our energy consumption, we rely not on diesel generators, but on these pretty solar-powered batteries. And obviously, my talk today is about our 4th pillar, it's art. And to show you an example of how serious our art project is, this is one of the reusable cups that we use at the festival. And you can recognize some of the DJs that is printed on the cup. But in between the artists, we literally put the visual artists on the lineup and on the list of artists. To me, they're equally important. They might not order ridiculously expensive champagne or tequila, but for the rest, we treat them just like any other artist. I think it's good to set the boundaries a little bit, like what is considered art, because we at Digital we do a lot, and we also do a lot of things like this. In the left top corner, you can see one of our decoration projects from last year. It was a huge shipment container gate built from 9 shipping containers that we welded together. We also do stuff like this, building constructions from layer or projection mapping on the venues that we have our festivals in. The bottom left, you can see the tower, the decoration tower that is built by Triumph, the Dutch company. So if you can find your way through the augmented reality app, we always have these kinds of things guiding your way through the festival, but this is what I call decoration. And for the rest of the presentation, I'd like to show you 4 more bigger projects. I'd like to call them conceptual art installations. We kind of shifted from just hiring existing art installations, to creating specifically designed installations for Digital that really sort of added to the festival experience and maybe even left a message in some way. The first project I wanted to show you is a visual artist from Brazil. This is one of the advantages of being in international festivals, that you come across different visual artists across the world. And for the first edition in Sao Paulo, we met Muti Randolph. He's actually quite a well-known artist there. He does sculptures like this in Sao Paulo at an urban street market. And the cube you see to the left, he designed for Heineken for the opening ceremony for the Olympic Games. I think it was in 2016. And because this identity and the style of his really fits with the image that we have for Digital, we asked him to create a sculpture for Digital as well. And it looked like this. And basically it was just a 12-meter long layer or scaffolding structure, and it was 4 meters high, and it consisted of 3 layers of translucent LED panels. And what he does is that he creates software himself. So the input to these visuals is completely software generated, and it also reacts to the sound. And because the panels are translucent, you can see the layers behind it, and you get something like this. And this installation would put right in between the 2 biggest of our stages. You could call it a chill area, but this is something that we like to spice up the festival area a little bit with. You zoom in, looks a bit like this. So everything is completely computer generated. Not a single second of this installation is the same as you saw before. Every time you walk by, this installation is completely new. It's completely different. This is what we like to do with our musical lineup. Is if we discover a certain artist in Barcelona or in Tel Aviv or in Madrid, we'd like to bring them to other digitals as well. So we're really looking for this synergy between all of our events. And this is also what I like to do with our art program, because Woody Randolph did an installation in Sao Paulo in 2017, in Barcelona in 2018. And this is just last Monday, we had Digital Tel Aviv, and we brought Muti to there. This is kind of a similar installation, but it's 12 meters high. And in Israel, we kind of had a little problem because in the whole country of Israel, there's not a single translucent LED panel. So we had to improvise this a little bit, and he came up with the idea of creating this inner column. It's 12 meters high and it's completely solid. And the outer layer consists of regular LED panels, but with gaps in between. As you can see in the movie right here, it kind of gives the same idea of depth that you would get with the translucent LED panels. Right. Then I think one of our most ambitious projects is called Skyline. It actually consists of 2 parts, Skyline 1 and Skyline 2. Skyline 1 is the project that we did last year. And we designed our festival map last year, and usually the entrance to digital is outside. But for once we were allowed to have the entrance inside, because the festival is in March and it get cold in the Netherlands. And usually the entrance area is super boring, right? You get in, sometimes you would wait in line, get your ticket scanned, you get searched for stuff that you can bring into the festival. You need to buy a locker. It's kind of the most boring part of the day, I would say. What we tried is to completely reverse the idea of the entrance. So why don't we make this the most interesting part of the festival? And what we did, it was a super big warehouse. It was 200 meters, and we created an installation. We know it from the roof. It was 80 strobes and 80 speakers, and the speakers were driven by 4D sound. And basically what that does is it creates some kind of spherical sound experience. So if you would stand under this installation and you would move an inch to the left or the right, it really had an impact on the sound experience that you had. And this is how we welcomed our visitors last year. Also, this was completely synchronized with the sound. Actually, it was a modular synthesizer connected to the light, so every button that was pressed had an impact on the visual. I kind of felt bad for the people that was security by the entrance that day, scanning tickets. So we kind of changed the idea a second time. So this was this year. Skyline number 2, designed by the same guys, but we replaced the strobes with LED tubes. I think it was 95 of them, with winches, so they could move independently. And also this was, the input for this was also the sound. And for this project, we really tried to find a boundary between what is an art installation and what is a stage, what is a place that people dance, and what is a stage design. So what we did is we asked 3 artists from the festival. It was Oceanic, the XJ, and Colin Benders. And they each composed a specific type musical piece for this installation. So again, on the timetable, there were 3 set times every day of the festival, where inside the art installation was an actual performance of each one of those DJs. And it looked like this.
It has actually started.
It has actually started.
Little crickety noises that you're hearing are not just technical noise. Like it was planned in its weirdness.
What Skyline does is it really changes your perception of the space you're in. It takes hold of the whole space, going from left to right, up and down. And I knew that was how it was going to be, but until I heard it, I didn't realize how special it actually was. What I saw was that a lot of people stayed concentrated like through the entire piece, which is a big compliment to me.
It's very unpredictable. I think that's very unique. You don't know what to expect from it.
A lot of people compare the experience to like good science fiction movies, and mainly Blade Runner was mentioned a lot of times because it was really like you were in this space and these ships were flying over you, deafening you with their sound. It's not a typical set where I'll play like a 4/4 kick drum and a dance floor track.
It's not about that. It's more about creating an ambience, a whole setting and atmosphere.
It's a lot more experimental and left field.
As you can see, this is I'm not sure if everybody knows Colin Benders, but he plays with a modular synthesizer. And we even connected the modular synthesizer to the actual installation to have maximum effect. Right. Thirdly, actually it's an installation made possible by TicketSwap. It was in Barcelona. The company that did this is called Playmodes. It's a visual company from Barcelona. And I'd like to work with the same people over and over again. They get to know each other better. So they've actually been creating installations for us for the past 4 years. And this was the newest installation for Digital Barcelona 2019, so this summer. It's called Cyclo. And it was basically one big circular truss. And they they built their own hardware, so they built their own LED strips and they were connected on top of the circular truss. And this time it was really an installation that you had to get inside. It looked like this. So as opposed to Muti, which was kind of more an installation that you would walk by and have an impression, this was actually an installation that you had to be inside to have the full experience. Also, this one was generated with sound. And it was not like a loop for an hour that kept playing for the entire festival. It was actually a live set of about 6 or 7 hours long. So the guys from Playmodes, they played live in this installation for hours and hours continuously. And what we thought was really funny, because again, that's what I said, people need to go inside this installation. But we had never expected that people were actually lying on the floor to have the best experience. And yeah, well, I guess you need a break from dancing every now and then, and I guess this was a pretty interesting way to chill out. All right, last project that I want to share with you is a project that we did with ATM, model art from Amersfoort. It's called Refract. And we did this together with Ace and Tate. And Ace and Tate, for those of you who don't know them, it's a manufacturer of spectacle glasses. And we got in touch with them. And given our sustainability goals, we talked about it. And we found out they actually have a very strict sustainability program as well. So we thought, why don't we join forces? And we were like, yeah, what can we do for each other? And then we found out that by manufacturing the frames of glasses, there is a lot of these lenses that are considered waste because it has to be held in place with demo lenses. And once you order a pair of glasses, then they're being replaced by your own. A lot of glasses are returned. A lot of lenses are misfits. So they have thousands and thousands of the lenses. And so we said, yeah, just give them to us and let's see what we can do with them.
Digital Festival is a festival with a very clear mission to become the world's first circular festival and the world's first climate neutral festival. This year, we'll work together with Ace and Tate to turn 15,000 surplus lenses into an art installation to really get close to this circular ambition.
instead of a take, make, waste process, we try to make it circular and make new products out of waste streams.
We're here at the design studio or atelier of ATM. We've been asked by DGTL Festival if we could design something with a waste stream. They came up with a lot of spectacle glasses, a huge amount.
The goal for acetate is to maintain the value of the materials we make use of, such as acetate and lenses. And by doing this project, we're shifting from waste into art, which is a great example of circularity.
At our festival, it will get a very prominent position, and then after the festival, it will get a new life, so we will give it a new purpose.
Right. This is, remember, in the first slide of the presentation was the container gate. We even reused the container gate as a canvas for this new art installation. You can imagine that if you put 15,000 lenses on a string and you play with it with lights, you get amazingly interesting pictures. And then, oh, that's not me. And then, okay, because as Tate said, they're also about circularity, but we thought about it like, okay, we can showcase this installation at the festival, but what are we going to do with it after the festival? So I'm really happy that we found a museum that was interested in exhibiting this installation. So the Poolfree Museum, it was exhibited in 2 weeks long. And yeah, you can imagine as a former art student, this is like a super big accomplishment for me. We're even talking to a museum in London to have it shipped over there afterwards. That was it. Thanks for your time.
I'm speechless. And I think this went off. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask Gerke about the installations, about what Digital's doing?
I have one question.
Yes.
So in every project, how many alternatives do you choose these things in between? For example, you have, I'm sure that you don't only have one option, you have a couple of options, but you're assessing those things, and how is the process?
Usually what we do is we create some kind of guidance before the beginning of the year. So now I'm trying to find some kind of guideline for 2020. We have an overarching theme. And what we do is we mainly look within our own context, but sometimes we do an open call for ideas. And then we decide based on whether it fits with the festival, which fits with the overarching theme. And then let's see if we can afford it. And this is how we work basically. So it's never going to be a randomized pieces of art putting together, but there is a kind of conceptual idea behind it.
Thanks.
But what about the options, what I don't like to do as a director is to really give a lot of feedback to the artists. I like to choose the best artists that I can find and then let them do whatever they do best. And let's not do nitty gritty stuff on pixels because that's my task, I guess.
Thank you.
So how did you come up with art as one of the main pillars? I mean, you were art students, so
Yeah.
that could be, but what was the process that led you to choose that?
That's a good question. Obviously, it's my personal interest, but it was part of the concept before I started at Digital already. I kind of changed the direction of the art installations a little bit. I think it's just, for me personally, if I'm at a festival and again, if you need a break from dancing, then usually you sit on the floor and usually the festivals that are not in a park or something are not that interesting. And I think it really just adds to the overall experience of your day. In general, people at festivals are super open-minded. They're about to discover new music, meet new people, and they're also open to new visual things. Is my experience.
Is that kind of the feedback that you're also getting from
Yeah.
festival goers?
Yeah.
This is the place that they assign?
Yeah. We always ask after the festival, we send out a survey. And then the first question is, like, please just give a general rating about the festival. And then the second question is, name one thing about which you will remember most about Digital. And in the Cyclo installation, it was, I think, 25% named it, or 20% named it as one of the most memorable things of their experience. experience. And then secondly, it was like a DJ. So I guess it works. Yeah. That's it.
Anyone else? We have another question here.
Yeah, as you stated really briefly about whether you can afford it, art lives in a domain that's generally subsidized and not fits in the narrative of a commercial entity, right? So how do you cope with the challenges of getting the right art for the right price and fit it also within budgets that are stretched thin with all the raising artist fees and the production quality that we have to maintain as a branch?
Yeah.
How do you cope with it?
That's a very good question. Different kinds. We have in our budget, there's a budget allocated for art, but we're also open to sponsorships like the one with TicketSwap in Barcelona. But what I don't like to do is like to incorporate the brand or involve the brand in the creative process too much. So there is obviously visibility for a brand if they want to sponsor a thing. It's also possible for a stage. Some stages are sponsored by Heineken or by Rouge. But then you work around like the perfect combination of branding and creativity, I guess. But I've never looked really into having it subsidized, like by governmental institutes. It's not really our thing, I guess, for a commercial company, and asking for money for the government is not really my way to go. But there's like tons of different ways to do it. Sometimes an artist is willing to ask less of a fee if he gets a bit of promotion from the festival. Obviously, since we have quite a big audience all across the world, it is like a platform for them to showcase their work. So there's no really one answer. There's like 5 answers, I guess. Yeah.
That was good. Are there any final questions for Gerke?
I'll ask another one.
Yes.
I'm just wondering how unique is this by now? Did other organizers pick up on this as something that is really memorable and
I would say it's
enhances the
completely
experience?
unique. There are big festivals.
It's even better to be a translator, you know.
Yeah. Well, there are big festivals like that exhibit only art installations, like Glow in Eindhoven, or I would even consider Amsterdam Light Festival as a festival that invests in installations like this. But to be honest, I don't know a festival that really it's in their core of the festival to exhibit and to create art installations like this. If I would name one festival that does really well in decorating, that's, for example, Wildeburg or Into the Woods in the Netherlands. They also invest a lot in how the festival looks instead of just the musical lineup. But I would say it's a medium.
Thanks. All right. No one else?
It's a wrap.
All right. Thank everyone very much for coming, and thank you very much for giving this presentation. Super pleased and really amazing stuff. Solnar was here this morning, so watching what you guys are doing is
Thanks.
super cool. So please give a hand to Gerke for his time. Do you have time to stick around for a little bit?
Sure.
All right. So if you guys want to ask one-on-one questions, Gerke will be here in the foyer. There's some refreshments coming. There's some snacks coming. There might be some alcohol coming. Thank you again for spending your afternoon with us. So tomorrow will be the final day of the TicketSwap Hideout. Friday we've got 2 presentations. One at 11 o'clock will be the Tropicali Festival. Very small festival that started 2 years ago in Amsterdam. The founder is going to come and talk about how he doubled the entire festival size in 1 year, really through social media. He's a social media expert as well. And that's also kind of interesting stuff for business. And the second talk in the afternoon is actually going to be with our special guest who came over from Budapest. Sziget Festival is here, one of the largest festivals in the world, but definitely I think 4th largest in Europe, with nearly 600,000 people and 8 days of nonstop. I can attest because I went last year and I almost died. And he's going to talk about what it is, the island of freedom, and hosting a festival on an island in the middle of a river in Budapest in summer with that many people. It's a whole society. So please join us if you can tomorrow. And thanks again for coming.